Hi, welcome to Back 40 Auto Works. I'm Jeremy. So my friends call me Styles. Um, if you've been following along on my channel, and I thank you very much if you have, you know that we're at a standstill with the Buick right now. And for those who haven't been following around or followed along, we've been trying to put a 5.3 in my 1978 Skylark, um, and we got the 305 out and the transmission separated from the motor, and the new oil pan, pickup tube, and gasket on the 5.3 to fit in the car because it won't go in with the factory stuff off the Silverado. I went to put the bolts in the torque converter to the flywheel and found out the engine wouldn't rotate all the way. When I got the engine 5 or 6 years ago, it did. So this wasn't something I checked when I went to put the transmission on, when I come up with the idea to put in the Buick originally. So as it turned out, there was water in the cylinder. So we went to find a used piston, a used set of rings to put in the engine after we took the rust out. I went and honed the engine and found out that the rust pits were far too deep. So the engine, as it turns out right now, is not usable. It can be bored. We're not going to do that because this is supposed to be a low budget build. And by the time I bore the engine and put new pistons, rings in it, and all new rod bearings and whatever needs to be put in it, at that point in time, it'll be just over $2,000. And that's not what I'm looking to do. So the basis of my channel was trying to do stuff myself and learn along the way. And anybody who's watching would learn with me as well as learn from my mistakes. So first mistake, I guess, was I should have checked the motor before I tried to put it in. Just make sure everything would rotate and was free and clear. Now, like I said, when I got it, it was free and clear. A few years ago, it would rotate fine. So any water that was in it, there was no sign of it. As I said, nothing became evident that anything was wrong until we tried to put the transmission on and put up the car. So, as I said, we're at a standstill for that. Now I do have options. Down in my pit there, I have a little white van with an engine sitting in the back of it and an engine under the hood, and I have another engine down on a Silverado. The Silverado that's down there is going to be used for my Imperial. So I would like to, if I could, keep that motor and transmission in there, because that is a spot for it. The engine that powers the van itself is a 4.8 with a 4L80E transmission behind it, and I probably really should use that. However, it's nice to have that van so it can move around. It's full of engines and junk and stuff I need that I don't want tying up the shop, so I can just pull it up here when I need stuff. In the back of that van, though, is a nice running 5.3 from an 02 Silverado with a 4L6E automatic transmission. So those are my options. Now, it's a winter here in PEI. The ground hasn't froze yet this year. It's still quite soft. As it is, there's all kinds of water laying around, and I do have a four-wheel drive truck. But getting down in that field to the back of that van is going to be a chore. If that truck sticks there, she's there to spring. So, also, there's not much room to move the lift around down there at this point in time. So that's kind of on hold for a week or two. So I have to decide what to do there. Now, I have sourced a couple other motors and transmissions in vehicles. At this point in time, in this time of year, it's almost easier to nose another vehicle up to the shop door and pull motor. So that's an option too. So anyway, those are my decisions at this point in time. Now, I don't know how much you can see the dark spot in the cylinder there. That's the rust pitting. When you run your fingernail all over, you can catch it. That's after being honed. So it's definitely too far gone to use. I mean, the block could still be bored and used for something else later on. That's not something we're going to do at any point in time, but that's why we're at a standstill. So I've been advised to get rid of this one and find something else. There you can see up top there, the dark coloration is the pitting. It's pretty well all the way around the cylinder, worse than I thought it was. That's where the rust was, where the piston was catching, and that was why it was seized. The kids call this the candy van down here. Anyway, I have some motors and transmission stock down in here. Under the hood, it does have a 4.8 in it, which is, as I said, also a possibility. So I don't know how well you can see. As you can see, this van is packed fairly tight. There's the 5.3 of the O2 Silverado that's probably going to find its way in here into the Buick. It is a drive-by wire setup as opposed to drive-by cable, which means I will also need a gas pedal and assembly, and I do have all that, and I have a module. It's been flashed. There's no VATs on the computer anymore, so that would essentially be a plug and play. It does, however, have the 4L60E behind it, which I'm not sure if I want to use or not. At least if I use the Turbo 350, I can keep my speedometer and a bunch of other stuff. So that's another decision to make. And using that, I would have to shorten the drive shaft a bit and change the yoke. It's even harder to see this, but the engine that's in the van itself is a 4.8. Van's about an 05, and it does run quite nice. I mean, it has a bit of a mist to it, but I think it's just a bad plug or possibly coil. But there's not a noise in this motor at all, even though I don't have it running at the moment. So that's another option. Third option, you can see it over here. You can see from the snow down here why it's a little difficult to do anything at this point in time. There's no 4 Silverado right there, which again is the one I plan on using for my Imperial. It has a very good run in 305 in it. Sorry, 5.3, not a 305, and 4L60Es, two-wheel drive as well. I really don't want to tear that apart if I can keep it. And you can see from the snow how much of a fight he's going to be getting at here. This is the field down behind my house. So as I said earlier, there are certainly options here. Like I said, there's 3 inches down in my pit, one in the van, under the hood of the van, one physically in the back of the van, and one in the Silverado. I can't even get to the Silverado to pop the hood right down to show you that engine. Although I'm sure most of you have seen a lot of that stuff already. So you see one engine, you've seen them all. So there's nothing fantastic in the state they're in. And then there's I have found another truck that's running, and there's a possibility of a Yukon. One of my friends has. Both have running engines in them. So right now, if I was to do something today or tomorrow or even the next day, the best option would be to buy something nosed up to my shop door and pull a motor. You really don't want another body around here. As you can see, by down to the pit there, I've got a lot of junk. Some has to go. Not right now, of course, because everything that's there has something I need in it. So at this point in time, I have decisions to make. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. I appreciate it and following along. And I'm certainly not going to stop working on the Buick. I realized a couple of my videos have been detours while I've been trying to assess situations and get stuff torn down and have a look at it. As I said, I'm not going to show you everything because some things take quite a long time to produce a minute or two video. As I said earlier, one of the things that people need to see with this stuff is things don't always go right. This is a classic example, but we're not dead in the water. I'll certainly have something next week to show you. Hopefully, I'll be tearing apart a motor, or pulling a motor, I should say. I'd love to be able to have motor and transmission sitting here. I'm thinking pretty hard about pulling the 5.3 out of the back of the van, and even thinking pretty hard about using that transmission, the 4L60E, because it'll just add a little more fuel mileage and just make drivability a little bit better. However, I'm not opposed to using the transmission that came with the Buick that I was going to originally. So anybody has any comments or ideas, I'm open to them. I'm welcome to hear what people think. This is where I'm at now. The other side of the coin is I also have 4 kids. They have very busy schedules, so I only have a day or two a week I can do anything. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And anybody knows if it's a good running 4.53 in an old truck for $400 or $500, let me know. It'd be great. If not, I'll have something figured out by the time I have my next video. Next couple of nights, I got to finish taking the pieces off the motor that I need to keep. I'm going to keep the heads. The crank is still good. Water pump, flex plate, stuff like that. All decent stuff yet. So the engine's not completely garbage. It's just I'm not going to sink $2,000 to $3,000 into it to use it. So it'll go in the back of the van out there, where the other one is, the candy van, and save for something else until the money's there. Maybe as things go along, we'll build a really nice motor for something, and that will be what I start with. Thanks again. Have a good weekend, everybody.